welcome to another exciting episode of PC Voyage. I'm Diana McLean.
And I'm Rainey Laviolette.
And today we have Keith Davis here to talk about spreadsheets. Hi, Keith.
Oh, hi, how you doing?
Long time no see.
Yeah,
Well, it's nice to see you in front of the camera.
once in a while.
Once in a while,
Yeah,
yes.
not too often. We don't want to get too used to it.
No, no, no. Kind of hot out here too, anyway. Even
Oh,
though it
yeah,
is
it's so
wintertime.
hot.
So,
Why don't we start with what is a spreadsheet?
well, we're going to talk about spreadsheets tonight, and a spreadsheet is pretty much the same thing as a ledger would be, where you would put in rows and columns of numbers to do additions and multiplications. That's the real use of a spreadsheet, is when you're dealing with numbers, versus a database. You deal with names and addresses and that sort of thing. And database programs can do what some spreadsheet programs can do to a small degree, and some spreadsheet programs can do what database programs do. But mostly spreadsheets are for handling numbers, number crunching. And in a big way, when you have dozens, if not hundreds, of columns of data and hundreds, if not thousands, of rows of numbers to deal with, that's when a spreadsheet really works good.
Like
And-
anytime you want to set up a table of numbers, it's the perfect way of
Yeah.
doing so.
And then and formulas, of course, are a big part of spreadsheets, because they do all the work for you. The idea is that with a spreadsheet is you enter only small amounts of data in, and let the spreadsheet and the formulas that you put in the different cells and different areas of the spreadsheets do all the calculations for you.
And because you can also save it and recall it again, you can use it over and over again.
And you can edit it and make changes to it. And another part of spreadsheets are graphs. That's a big part. I knew you were just about to say
I
that,
was
right?
just about to say
Yeah.
that.
And graphs are very important because they visually display the data you have. And as you change the data, the bar graphs or line graphs change. And most of the good spreadsheet programs, they have very good graphing programs or modules to them that let you do graphs in all different sizes and shapes and different colors, and you can print them out and import them into other programs too.
Some programs are limited, though, in their graphing capabilities. So as far as spreadsheets go, if you're going to use that for that purpose, you have to be very careful in what you're going to choose.
Yeah, typically the spreadsheet programs will allow you to put up maybe 6 ranges of data, although you can have, each of those ranges can have many points of data. A lot of them are limited to 6 ranges. I believe some of the newer releases have more now, maybe possibly 8 or so. So there are limitations to how much data you can put into a graph. But
What are some practical uses for spreadsheets?
well, of course, companies use them to keep track of sales and products and salaries, commissions, that sort of thing. For your home, you can keep track of a lot of different things. You can keep track of expenditures. We're going to be looking at one later that tracks a gas and electric bill on a monthly basis over a 6-year period. And it's loaded with formulas and graphs and that sort of thing. And just about anything that you would normally do where you'd have to write out a lot of numbers and do a lot of calculations, that's what you would use a spreadsheet for.
And a friend of ours used it for his daughter's wedding, isn't that true?
And what would they do with it?
And he estimated the cost of the wedding, and it came so close to what 63 cents
Like
off?
36 cents, something like
36
that.
cents off.
They stayed
I think
within
that
budget,
was-
huh?
That's right.
That's
That's right.
pretty good, yeah.
Perfect.
You're
yeah.
dyslexic tonight.
I am.
So,
Well, that's a side effect.
so we can take a break here. When we come back, we can build a quick spreadsheet on the screen to just show the basics of what a spreadsheet is, and then we'll take a look at a completed spreadsheet.
Okay, so on that note, we'll be
That's
right
great.
back.
Watch for PC Voyage weekly on your local community access channel.
Hi, welcome back.
Wasn't sure who was going to speak back.
So you're going to speak now,
No,
Rainey?
go ahead, go ahead.
Okay, well, one of the things before we get into whatever spreadsheet you did bring, by the way, what is it?
First, we're just gonna create one from scratch, and then I'll
Oh.
show one later on.
No,
From what brand,
What
or-
program did you
Oh.
bring?
Well, I've got a couple on the machine here. I'm going to use an older version of Quattro just for this, for tonight, because it's very simple and very straightforward. Later in the season, we will demonstrate some of the newest spreadsheet releases, maybe Lotus for Windows that has all the new bells and whistles on it. But essentially, the spreadsheets still work the same as they did several years ago.
Okay, and what other brand names are there for
Excel,
spreadsheets?
Lotus, and Quattro
Probably the three biggest
are
ones
the
out
three big
there.
ones
Probably
out
the
there, yeah.
big major ones, yeah.
Yeah.
And,
There are a lot of software packages that will supplement it. Like if you wanted a software that was just doing charting, you can get add-ons to some of these things that will just do charting and graphing.
And other programs like Microsoft Works includes a spreadsheet,
You have to be
as part
careful
of
on
it, so.
limitations, though.
right?
Yeah, but for most
Yes.
people, if you're just doing some home accounting, you know,
Right.
like with the wedding calculation, I mean, you don't need an elaborate spreadsheet with all kinds of graphs and everything
Right.
else. You can get away with some
Right.
pretty simple stuff.
So, okay, so
Know what you're going to use it for?
we'll get over
That's
to
right.
the screen here, and
Okay.
we'll bring up one of our programs here, and we'll bring up Quattro. This is version 1.0, I believe. It goes way back. And typically, when a spreadsheet loads, and they all are pretty much the same, you see a bunch of columns and a bunch of rows, and the columns start out and they go from A to Z, and if you tab across to the right, they go to AA and AB, and they keep going until you get to BA, BB.
ZZ?
And it doesn't quite go to ZZ, but it does go out to 256 columns. And as far as going down the spreadsheet, you can see that at the very bottom of the spreadsheet, and we're in the lower left-hand corner of the spreadsheet, there's 8,000 rows. And of course, you can't, with most computers, you can't fill in 256 columns by 8,000 rows because there's not enough memory space to hold all the data that you might have in
Well,
there.
the newer spreadsheets will cache out to
Right.
hard drives so that you
So
can do that.
Right, and they use extended or expanded memory, especially the expanded memory format, and you can put enormous spreadsheets into computers now. But at any given moment, wherever you're looking, it's kind of a window onto a section of a spreadsheet. If this was represented the entire spreadsheet, and let's say it was many columns and many rows, what you're seeing at any given moment is a window on it. And as you move around and navigate around the spreadsheet, you're seeing just a portion of it. So let's do something with some numbers and calculations, formulas, and graphs here real quick, and see what we come up with. And I thought what we could do is, let's see, our PC Voyage crew and the people here at Continental Access, we all get big salaries, as everybody knows, right?
Wait a minute, you mean you're getting paid for this?
So, of course, aren't you? So let's put in everybody's, let's put in people's names and let's put their salaries in and stuff. Let's start out with Rainey. We probably make the most amount of money here, and Diana. And notice what I'm doing here is I'm entering data, and as you hit enter, it just puts it into the spreadsheet wherever the cell marker is. We got Keith, and we got, let's see, Walt on camera, and Jeff Zomek, okay, the access coordinator here, and Gene, one of the intern people here. And let's say we want to keep track of their salaries, or take a look at their salaries for how much we all make for this year and for the next 5 years or so. So we can put 1994 here in as a year, and we'll put some years going out. Now we could type in 1995, 96, but of course the spreadsheet is made for formulas, so we can say that cell D5, where 1994 is, we can just add 1 to that, and now we have 1995, and we can copy that formula across
And these are
the
pretty,
spreadsheet.
and these are pretty standard.
Right. The
Features.
actual buttons and letters that start commands running vary a little bit from one version of software to another and one program to another. but you're always doing basically the same thing. Same thing in the database programs. You learn how to create fields and records. All database programs pretty much work the same way. Now let's say Rainey makes, how much you make, $30,000?
Here?
Okay, on this show. So, okay, so we put a number in there, 30,000, but let's make the area that we're dealing with here look like dollars. So we're going to take a block and change the display format to currency and 2 decimal points. And let's put it down for all these areas. They're all going to be dollars. And you can see right here we hit some stars, and that's because the number is wider than the column. So let's change all the column widths, because we know they're going to all have to be a little wider. Column, and I think it's set global, and let's make it 13 wide. And all these columns now will be 13 spaces wide and enough to hold our numbers. Now, how much does Diana make on the show here?
Zilch.
Okay, that's $18,000.
Oh, zilch is a lot these days.
So, well, this is your first year. You'll get a $15,000 raise next year. And let's see, Keith, the producer. Oh, well, I make $8,000. Okay.
At least he's got the numbers right so
cameraman.
far.
Walt cameraman makes $25,000.
Well, they're not in
Jeff-
order of
oh.
importance, right?
Executive producer, access
Oh,
director.
well, I think they are.
Jeff makes $55,000. We know that. Gene is an intern here. Well, he makes $2,000. Okay. And now we're all going to get raises. So we're all going to get a 5% raise. And again, we'll put a formula in here, and we're going to say that D6, and that's the cell where Rainey's salary is, times 1.05 will be the formula, and that'll add 5% to a salary. And everybody's going to get a 5% increase for the next 5 years, let's say. So let's just copy that formula, and we'll just copy
Well,
it
too
here.
bad you didn't get that 15,000 raise he was promising you. Huh?
No.
I know it.
We're out to the year,
Easy
we're out
come,
to
easy
year
go.
2003 here. So just like that, we've calculated everybody's salary out for a number of years. And this is a small example of how you would have columns and rows of data, and you let the formulas do all the work. And let's do some more formulas here. Let's put the totals that we're all going to get paid down here at the bottom of the screen.
So that PC Voyage Productions knows how much to pay
Right,
us.
how much they're going to spend. Okay, and we can say over here that we're going to put our totals here.
And with newer spreadsheets, especially the Windows versions, you could actually take the cells and give them different fonts and different colors, and
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
you could really jazz it up. But because
Right,
this is a
to
basic,
highlight things,
Sure.
something stands out, like once somebody makes over a certain dollar amount, it'll stand out in red or something. Now, when you're dealing with things that sum up the columns, you can do it several ways. You can add up the each cell, like D6 plus D7 plus D8, or there are at functions, they call them, at, sum, and there's dozens of at functions that do shortcuts for multiplying, dividing, counting, and that sort of thing.
calculating averages and minimums and
Yeah,
maximums.
right.
And
Millions of functions that come with spreadsheets. But let's say we're going to go from cell D6 down to D11. Will be the sum of this column right here. And 6 dot dot D11.
And you don't even have to look. If you had a mouse, you could just point to it and it would select it for
Yeah,
you.
the newer versions of spreadsheets are that's right. You could go grab the at functions off a pull-down menu, for instance. So now we have a sum down here, and let's change this to a currency, just like the rest of them. Now let's copy that formula across. And again, that's the power of the spreadsheet. You just copy the formula. Now we've copied that sum formula all the way across the spreadsheet, and it's showing everything there. Another thing we can do is make graphs, and they're very easy to make here. This is a very basic one here. We can say that we can go into the graph functions, graph, and we can select a graph type, and all different kinds, pie charts, bar graphs, 3D bar graphs, lines, combined lines and markers. Let's use that one. X-axis, going along the X-axis here, let's say this is the years. I'm not sure all this is going to fit in there. Series values, first series, that'll be Rainey's pay. And that whole row is going to be one series, and we'll do the same thing for all of these here. And the third series, the fourth series, and the fifth series, and this is the limitation on this version anyway, is to 6 series that the graph can hold. And let's see if we can view something here. So now we view the graph real quick. It's pretty plain and simple looking because we haven't really jazzed it up or anything, but it has the years down at the bottom of the graph, and it has dollar amounts on the left side, and it's kind of small print, but it just automatically sets the upper and lower limits and figures that this must be in thousands of dollars, so it tells you 10 through 90, and has the word thousands over there. And now you can do several things with this graph. You can customize it. You could put a grid in behind all this, for instance. And line type, let's put a grid in here. And at any point in time, you can view what you're doing here. And that looks a little bit better there. And you can put titles in on the graph. We can say titles. The first line is PC Voyage salaries. And when we view the graph, there's a title up there. And there's different fonts, of course, that you can change. And let's do the second line of the graph is 1994 through 2003 maybe, whatever it was. Now we have a second line in there. And each of the areas over here on the right, this is showing you that the red marker with the black block, that's for the first series, but it doesn't tell you who that is. And of course you can put a label in under that. And that's customizing the series, and I believe it's legends. So the first legend would be Rainey, and the second would be Diana, and the third would be Keith, and the fourth is Walt, and the fifth is Jeff, and the sixth is Gene. And when we view the graph, now over on the right side here, everybody's name is associated with that. And of course, you can add more and more data to this as we go along.
Some programs like Microsoft Excel, because graphing is, as you can see here, a very tedious process. What they've done is they've created what they call a wizard that will literally walk you through each step that you've done here.
Right.
You know, and because they know the certain things you're going to do, they can make some things
It's
automatic.
intuitive, and
Yeah.
It will assume that you're going to ask for what are these series going to be, and it will lead you in the right direction, right? So, and this is a very simple spreadsheet here, but it shows you a few things. One is formulas and graphs, and how the spreadsheet can do all the work for you. Now, if we change a value here next year, let's say Rainey's not doing too good of a job, and we want to cut his pay down 25,000. And of course, as we go across here, all these numbers have changed based on that one change here. And the same thing here. Gene's been working real hard, so we might say, well, we'll give him 5,000 for this year, and all the other ones will change because the formulas change with them, including all the totals at the bottom of the screen.
Now, how easy would it be to fire Jeff?
Very easy. You just simply go up here and you make this 0, and then you slash row delete, and that's Jeff is gone just like that.
Boy,
But that's
Just like
showbiz,
that.
you know.
It's that easy, huh?
Just like that. So, and we just saved a lot of money there too, by the way. Show. So, now the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to bring up another spreadsheet that's already created, and file retrieve. This is one that keeps track of gas and electric usage and bills and so on. And what it's done here is it's gone into a spreadsheet and automatically gone down to an area of the spreadsheet which is going to be, this is something where data is entered each month, so it goes down to the next logical month. And it puts a little window in here so we can see the top of the spreadsheet, and down at the bottom of the spreadsheet we see where there's data in there. And this happens to be the last entry in over a 6-year period. Okay, and I'll show you the whole spreadsheet in just a second. But this is very typical here if this is based on a gas and electric bill, and this is our local gas and electric company, and the spreadsheet is asking each month for 5 pieces of data. It's asking for how many days are in the billing cycle, kilowatt hours, the cost for the electricity, the 100 cubic feet of gas that's used, and the cost for the gas. And from that point on, a lot of other data can be generated from formulas. And I believe on this one we had 30 days in this billing period, and we used 356 kilowatt hours during the month. This was August of 1993, and their cost was $41.38, and didn't use too much gas, and the gas cost $15.50. Okay, and that's all that has to be done, say, each month. Now, let's get rid of the window here, and we can see that we have the spreadsheet with all the year's data going back. And that just happened to be the last one in a 6-year period. Now, out of all that data, all these other things at the top are all formulas. These are all calculations based on the pieces of data that we've put in each month. And rather than look at the numbers there, we have a whole bunch of graphs to use. Here's a graph that shows the amount of gas that's used, the average amount that's used each day, and that sure is hard to read there. Yeah.
But because you have so much time in there, it's really hard to tell.
Yeah,
You've got a lot
Plus,
of.
there's different types of graphs you can use that might.
Yeah. This
Work
is showing, by the way, this is just showing 6 different lines that represents each year, and each marker represents a month of the year, and it's the amount of gas in 100 cubic feet that's used on an average daily basis. And out of this you can get a million different graphs. You can get the cost of the cost per day, the average cost per day of using that.
Well, they moved the camera so they can't see you anymore, so that must mean that we're going to take a break here. We're going to cut to the address.
Okay.
And if you have any comments or suggestions that you'd like to send to us,
Don't hesitate to write.
or you want one of these handy-dandy little charts on how to buy a computer, you can send for those. We'd be happy to send you one. But you can put it in front of me now, yes. Took you a while to figure that one out.
Not really.
We'll be happy to send that to you, and you'll be eligible for our big software giveaway at the end of the year, which I don't have a clue what we have in there, but Keith must have all the answers
Quite a
and
few
all
things.
the software hidden somewhere.
It's all hidden away.
All hidden
all
away.
to come out at the end of the season.
Sounds good. Well, we'll be right back after we give you the address.
Hi, welcome back to the show. We can't wait to hear from you. Please don't hesitate to write in. So back to
Great
spreadsheets.
enthusiasm.
Boy, I didn't get a word in edgewise here.
That's all right.
We're having a great time.
We reduced your salary earlier, so you don't have to say as much. Let's finish up here really quick. We were looking at some graphs here on the screen and some data. There's a nice trick you can do with spreadsheets, which I like to do, is to print the spreadsheet to a file. And I'll show you how you do that. You set the area you're going to print, which is the block that you're going to print. And this is highlighting the entire block of data here. And you set the destination to, instead of the printer, you set it to a file. And we give it a file name, and we'll call this gas bill, okay? And it says there's already one there. We'll replace that, and we'll say go. And what it's going to do is it's going to write the data on the screen to a file. And if we get out of the spreadsheet program here, and we go to our directory, there should be a file at the very end of the directory called gasbill.prn. And what we can do is use a file viewer to see this on the screen. And there it is on the screen, the data that was in it. Now this is permanent data right now, and this won't change. This is a record of something over a 6-year period. So you can now view the file. It's an ASCII file without going into the spreadsheet program.
And actually from here, you could take the data and bring it into your word processor.
And you can put it in a word processor or anything you want. Very easy to do. So that's always a fun way of getting the data out of the spreadsheet where you can use it in other ways.
And that prevents people from tampering with it?
Well, you could, well, not really. You could change this and edit it if you want. But the idea is here, you don't need the spreadsheet program to view the data anymore. This could go, this file now could go to any computer, and you could even view it with the DOS type command.
Okay.
So you print to a file.
Now, what about ease of use? I mean, you know, you showed some pretty complicated stuff here. How complicated are spreadsheets for people to use?
It's like any other type of program. You have to get used to knowing what the programs can do and the basic steps of doing them. They're different in each program. The little keys you hit and the little commands are a little different, but you're basically doing the same thing. You create formulas. You print blocks of data. You make graphs. You range areas and that sort of thing. And once you learn how to do them, you can use that knowledge across different spreadsheet programs. Even though you may not have been trained on one, you can. It's very easy to learn it.
Well, great. Well, we should get this show wrapped up at this point.
Yes.
Thank you, Keith, for coming in and
Thank
talking
you.
about spreadsheets.
Anytime.
You spent too much time in the back room and not enough time out here.
So.
Yes, pleasant surprise.
Well, that wraps up another PC Voyage. I'm Rainey Laviolette,
And I'm Diana McLean.
and we'll see you next time. Interesting. Interesting.